Hi, welcome. My name is McCluskey, and on this series of videos I'm going to be discussing how to rehabilitate the aggressive dog once a dog has gained a higher level of influence and power through the lead role. How to be able to put a structure in place so that you're able to put a dog or put your dog into a follower role through the role changing process. Now, the first thing that I really emphasize and really make sure dog owners understand and get is that that you want to control once you start to really understand where you're at within the relationship and see this power issue from the context of role change. You want to prevent any further potential for a bad outcome. And when I talk about bad outcome, I mean a dog's opportunity to bite somebody, to get loose. There's all sorts of issues that can take place once a dog is holding that level of power, because the mind is separating at a high level. The dog is expressing. They're on kind of like the edges of the pack relationship, so to speak. And so, the dog owner is therefore being objectified at a very high level. Maybe like you're a child that's very, selfish and narcissistic, and you're dealing with all sorts of behavior issues and problems. And perhaps, and this is the problem with the psychology involved, dog owners that are very emotional and have created this type of emotional connection and bond are not seeing things clearly. I mean, they're they feel blindsided. And the whole goal here, even within my system of training, is to get you to see where you're at clearly through nature, within how the dog perceives you, so that you can see clearly where you need to go. I mean, that's critical. So the first thing is to see the problems with this, the psychology. I sit down with dog owners and really make sure that they get this, so that they can start to take the steps needed to bring the aggressive dog back from the edge. I've dealt with many serious aggression issues. This is a very difficult, very problematic issue to deal with because of the type of psychology and connection involved. And so the first thing, and this makes sense. If you think about it, every success has a plan. And the plan involves putting that structure in place so that you can, it takes the pressure off you as you're starting to transition the dog into a follower role. I mean, that's the whole thing about this. So part of that structure is involving using a crate. I mean, this is the thing about using a crate. A crate is a very important part of the process. How I use a crate. I use it as a jumping off point, as a way to rein in the aggressive dog. I use it to corner the dog's mind and help to, again, avoid any potential for bad outcomes, because by using the crate, you're able to restrict and control your dog's access to other people, other dogs, situations. And so you're going to use the crate, you'll be more proactive in using the crate over the next 2 to 3 weeks, as you're starting to pull the plug, so to speak, on the you can just the illustration or the example I use is just picture a bathtub filling up with water, and it's hit the tipping point. So the water's spilling out over the sides, and that's how aggression is. Your dog is, once the dog's hit that level of power, that tipping point, they're always one moment away from expressing it, and depending on how the script is changing, and so it's very important to start to use the crate that way. Now, the crate issue, I discuss this at length in my books. You can read it if you want more in-depth information on the crate. But the crate, understand, dogs connect dots, through mind and body. So when you're using the crate, because it controls mind and body, there's an element of control through that. because you're restricting, we're bringing that control mechanism into play. A dog that's holding a high level of power isn't going to like being in the crate. I mean, because what happens is the dog says, well, this isn't making sense to me, because the dog owner is not the leader in the relationship. The dog understands or very intuitive, able to peel back the framework of how you think, and if those nails going into your psychology, that bond, what you've established are more based on just emotion and weakness, the dog's saying is, hey, the dog owner is trying to control where I go and in my movements, but they're giving me the power at the same time through the relationship. So it's relational, and so the goal here is to get it so that dot starts to connect properly. Okay, so that the dog starts to see the crate through strength, through the lead role. And so, because obviously, if a dog is aggressive, you do need to start to restrict their movements. You need to start to rein that in before. So what you're doing basically is you're shrinking your dog's world. You're shutting down the nuclear power plant, so to speak, with through various associations, which I'm going to talk about during this video series. But you're reining in your dog's mind, so you can target your dog's decision making, and you can start to get in competition to take the lead role. Now, obviously, your dog isn't going to like this. I mean, but it's nature driven. That's the other thing about this is, this isn't about being mean to your dog. I mean, competition, it represents, there's challenge here. Through my methodology, the goal is to be very in tune with the dog's mind, so you don't trigger aggression. So even though you're bringing influence to bear, so that we can role change your dog, it's designed to be transitional. Not there's challenge here, but we're keeping those levels down. That's why, as we're layering influence and we're targeting the dog's decision making, we're doing it in a way that the dog's going to be more accepting of that. So through the techniques, you'll see in my book, I'm using various leash techniques to help kind of let some of the steam come out of the kettle, so to speak. So it's not about locking your dog hard into positions. Okay, when you see me using these positions, I'm using them. How the interplay of the connections happening. The moments are going to take hold, and you're going to see your dog's decision making start to change. But it's kind of like how I described. It's kind of like the tide is coming in and out. So because we're not trying to put your dog's mind into a vice, so to speak, so hard that it's going to trigger really bad outcomes. So it's because it's transitional. Every day we're having a impact on the dog's decision making process. We're starting to take power away, but we're doing it in a transitional. And so every day we're doing a little bit, because your dog isn't going to give you the lead role in one day. I mean, it's going to take time. So, but the crate is very important. So the type of crate you want it, big enough so your dog can stand up in and turn around and lay down in, but not too big, because even when a dog's holding a lot of power, they'll actually do their business in the crate, so to speak. I mean, which is a mess. So you need to, because that's all part of this. I mean, once the dog's expressing a high level of power, it becomes a nightmare. But here, so what you do is you start to use the crate. Now, to connect this dog properly, it's all about psychology. So you need to start to lead your dog's mind. You're gonna, even when you're putting your dog inside the crate, obviously your dog is going to be very resistant to being in there. But this is where you're going to start to put, influence. You're going to start targeting your dog's decision making, even in and near the crate first, and then you're going to start to create the airspace, so to speak. So you're starting to put your dog into the crate, and this is how the transition happens. It happens transitionally. So thanks very much for watching part 1. You can hear the phone ringing in the background here. I'm going to do part 2 here shortly, and I just encourage you to check out my next video. Thanks.